Hi guys, I can't believe we've already had our first 10 guests on the podcast. How cool is that? Each week they've shared their own daily rituals which help them feel healthy, productive and grounded. And I hope some of these suggestions have already started to make their way into your own lives, because I know they have for me. But with so much advice out there, it can be hard to know where to start. So today I'm going to round up 10 moments from our first 10 episodes that have really stuck with me. Leave a comment below if you've tried any of them. So let's get started.
So creatine is a really important molecule that essentially helps recycling of your energy currency in your cells. So that's ATP. So it's involved in the reprocessing of this, which is, every cell in your body requires this energy currency. We naturally produce creatine in our body. It's around 1 to 2 grams per day. And we tend to get some creatine in food. We get that in animal-based food. So if you're eating red meat and all that kind of stuff, you're probably getting another 1 to 2 grams. What the research shows is that getting an extra 5 grams helps with muscle recovery, performance, energy recycling, all these different benefits. And this is why it's been such a well-studied and popular supplement in the bodybuilding industry and the sort of strength industry, athletes. But what we're now realizing is that it's not just about strength. It's about endurance. It's about improving your muscle health as you age. And the benefits appear to accrue beyond 10 and 15 grams. And there might be even some additional benefits at the 15 gram plus dose for your brain. This is early research. The established benefits of muscle health. And the reason why I'm personally looking at 15 grams, going back to my son, I'm sleep deprived.
Because you want to be hench.
I want to be hench so I can pick him up. No, it's for those brain health benefits, because I'm sleep deprived. Okay. And if I can improve the bioenergetics of my brain cells, I'm going to take that bet all day long, particularly with such a safe supplement. So
I've heard about professional boxers and rugby players who are taking high doses of creatine just to protect their brain. Like anyone who's involved in sports where they're getting a lot of head impact, creatine is really good for protecting the brain. I've also heard that if you're taking around 5 grams a day, it's enough to saturate your muscles. Yeah. 10 grams, you're starting to get some into your bones. And then maybe the 15 to 20 gram range, it's starting to cross the blood-brain barrier and get into the brain. Is that kind of,
That's the thinking. And I think it would also depend on like how much muscle bulk you have. So for certain people to push beyond that threshold, it might take 20 grams, to allow your muscles to be saturated such that you can go to your brain. So I think it's really individual, and the science around brain health is early, but I'm willing to take that bet based on the safety profile of the product.
Yeah, I mean, it's been around for so long, creatine. Yeah. Like, there's been, it's up there with coffee and caffeine as one of the most studied chemicals or compounds out there. So we know it's safe.
I found breathwork because I did too much coke one evening and I thought I was going to have a heart attack and my chest was just like, honestly, I thought my heart was going to go out my chest. I was in my early 30s. I literally thought I was going to die. And I suddenly found so when I was breathing, I could, by lengthening my exhales, I was finding, oh my God, my heart's calming. Oh my God, my heart's, oh my God. And I managed to get my nervous system calm. Because what I was doing, I was obviously jacked on coke, but I was also stimulating my nervous system further by panicking, thinking I was going to have a heart attack. So I had almost a panic attack whilst lying there. And what saved me was this lengthy exhales, because the longer the exhale, the lower the heart rate and blood pressure. So if you put your fingers on your pulse and you just breathe out, you'll notice there's a slowing of your heart rate. But when you breathe in, you get a picking up. So one is more sympathetic and one is more parasympathetic. And there are other practices like what you've alluded to there. You could do box breathing, for instance. You could do a simplest one, I find, is a 4-6 tempo. So I tongue in the roof of the mouth again.
Okay.
Really light breath. Inhales and exhales, but 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And that gives you 6 breaths per minute. Yeah. So that's like 60 seconds. And you'll already notice there'll be a calming influence of that.
How important is sleep for longevity?
It's literally a pillar. Without it, everything goes to pot. And I think it's probably one of the biggest issues that we have in sort of like society today, Everything's working against us, from the overlight lights to the twin screening. So you're on your phone and you're watching Netflix. There's blue light, double whammy, to like weird materials in our beds, to the bedroom being too hot, just to the fact that we're constantly contactable. We don't read anymore. We don't have fireplaces anymore. We don't have cozy food anymore. Everything's quick and stimulatory to hit dopamine. There's so much going against it, but you can hack around it. So you can have the best of both worlds.
So what do you do?
Literally burn the candle at both ends. So like the stuff us lot like, and I'm assuming your audience will like, I've got a grounding mat on my bed.
Really?
I have got a massive bed, right? Massive bed, because I've got 4 kids. So it's like, it's called a Caesar size bed, which is like 8 foot by 8 foot. I've got nothing else in my bedroom. God. I can't fit it in. Nothing. Well, I mean, my bedroom isn't particularly nice. It needs decorating, but whatever. For me, I need that space, because when Matthew moves, it winds me the hell up. And if he breathes as well, it winds me up. So I've got this really big bed, and the dogs sleep with me as well. I've got 2 dogs. They make me feel cozy. So for me, it's I've got this grounding mat. So I think it's God, I'll find the link. Is it Be Grounded? I think it's Be Grounded. Anyway, you just plug it into your mains, and it's like a 3-prong socket, 2 of which don't conduct, 1 of which is metal, and it's just the earthing. And it's like got a little copper weave through it. So I don't know how good or bad that is. I've just got it just in case, yeah?
Okay.
Because I don't get much contact with the ground, because it's always pissing down up here, and our garden is terrible. And if I was to stand in it, I would it's just disgusting. So I don't really do much grounding unless it's summer, and then it's like shoes off. However, I digress. So I've got that. I've got lighting in my bedroom, which is by a company called Ray. RAY. So that's more circadian, with a much more red light in there, rather than it's not like the flickering blue lights.
But the light's not full red. It's not full red light.
No. It's like more of a yellowy, or more like they used to have back in the day before LEDs got made law.
Okay, right.
So it's because these lights here that I've got in here, these are Ray lights. They don't have flicker lights. This is the office, because I've put Ray in it, so we don't have like the LEDs that I've got in my kitchen, actually, which if you film, you can see the flicker. Yeah. It's really bad. It's like salting your eyes all the time. So I've got that in my bedroom, and I put a little side lamp on. I've got, these are blue blocking glasses. I wear them when I am watching telly, because I love telly. I love escapism. I love something that's just mindless. I've actually. The series I've just watched wasn't mindless, because you had to read it. It was Shogun, and it's by Disney.
I love Shogun.
I know.
Amazing.
And it's all like the geishas and everything.
Yeah.
Like
Kirsty loves all those things. Kirsty, my wife, watches TV for like the last hour or 2 of the evening as well. But we've tried the blue light blocking glasses, we bought some, and hers are so red that she can barely see anything. And it's like, and also we've got a red bulb. It's too red.
Yeah, exactly. It's too red. So I have the white ones that have got, just take the edge off, because I sleep really well with just that. I can't do the yellow ones. I can't do the red ones, because I need to watch the telly. So these have just got a little bit of reflection on, and they've got no lens in them. So I do recommend them if you are really struggling with sleep. Just whack them on at like 4 o'clock, and they've got no sort of, they're not like reading glasses, but they'll just take them.
I like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, as soon as it starts going dark.
So the best tip for someone who wants to start doing get a bit of cold stimulus and getting it from a cold shower is to start on your shoulders. So you never go straight onto your head and your face and everything straight off.
Mm-hmm.
You stand in front of the shower, get a little bit of the water in your hands, put it onto your face, because you're stimulating the cranial nerves. They have a lot to do with the mammalian dive reflex. They can help you calm. All right. So putting a bit of water onto that face, and then start onto your shoulders, down the sides, on your legs. And then eventually, if you feel comfortable, you can put it across your back or across your chest. But the head is actually not needed. So the scalp and the back of the head have a bit of a funny response when it comes down to blood pressure. And actually, it's unneeded unneeded to actually go to those areas straight off. In fact, ice dipping and getting into the cold, really you should be like firmly protecting your head. So because we lose a lot of heat out the top of our head. So actually wearing a beanie or a hat or something like that, it'll actually shunt the heat back towards the core where it's most important. Because this is where the magic's happening. If you think about how our body actually goes into regulating, it sends all the warm blood towards the core to protect the core. So that's a learning mechanism where your body goes, that's my job. So instead of interfering with that mechanism, we protect the head and we send it to where it's most important. So you're starting the building blocks of your body learning.
So you used to skip breakfast? Like how did you intermittent fast? Oh, really?
I always used to. So I personally suffer with colitis and like problems with my stomach. And so being a nutritionist, I found it really interesting that all the research, all these kind of trends come from good clinical research. And so a lot of the intermittent fasting came from people that really suffered with Crohn's and colitis and ulcerative colitis. And they would find that when you would rest for 16 hours, it would really help the gut microbiome flourish, and it would also reduce inflammation. Right. So when I started finding out this research, I was really interested because, again, I think you always go into something, and you'll know this from when you start interviewing a whole range of different people in different fields. Yeah. You all of a sudden you become open to all different natures of people, and you're like, why are you so passionate about this?
Yeah.
And like a lot of my own research and understandings and want to know more about this is because of like my own personal journey.
Same like
and
all
so
of
for
us.
me when it came exactly right. Yeah. And so for me it was the mind and my stomach then. They're the two things that I'm really, really curious about. Okay. And so I started experimenting on my own self, and then I interviewed Dr. Satchi Panda, who brought out the 16-8 kind of intermittent fasting trend. And so I found that really interesting that, it would help reduce inflammation and it would help kind of your gut microbiome flourish. So I would then intermittent fast. But it was also, when you're busy, you're like, oh, it's easy to skip breakfast because I didn't naturally wake up hungry. So I was kind of playing around with my own philosophy with it. But it wasn't until I spoke to Dr. Stacey Sims, so she was like, it's actually really bad for a woman and their hormones. And we should be eating something, even if it's just a coffee with some protein powder in, just something to flatten that kind of spike of curve in the morning. So I then started changing my own kind of health plan in regards to like where it is with women's health. But men, it's very different. You guys, you can intermittent fast and still.
I mean, I did try the whole skipping breakfast thing for a while when I had a job, like an actual office job, not my current job. And I'd skip breakfast, but I just found the whole morning I was just sitting thinking about food. I just couldn't stop thinking about food because I love food so much. Then by the time I could eat at lunch, I would literally just gorge on everything I could get my hands on, and then spend the rest of the afternoon just like eating everything, just trying to make up for the lost calories because I was really conscious I didn't want to eat fewer calories. So tried it for a while, then stopped it.
So I've been solar gazing for 30 years. You need to be able to see the sun to solar gaze, but
what does that mean?
It means you look directly at the sun in the morning when it's rising. So you either, if you don't have a place at your house, you find a location somewhere near you where you can get to a hill or some place and you can look directly at the sun as it breaks the horizon and you stare at it. I've been doing that, like I said, for 30 years, and we know there's just a huge amount of value to that. I mean, we've learned a lot about the light lately. I've never used sunscreen. I hate sunscreen. And I tell people how bad it is, but I also, people are like, oh, sun, I go, listen, we are so connected to light and the sun. I mean, as surfers growing up in Hawaii, we were in our skivvies, right? We're in our little underwear. We're in our shorts all day long, every day outside in the sun and the beach. So we already were doing it without really knowing how important it was. But I told somebody, go, listen, if you think that the sun isn't important to your existence, then you're off. Something's wrong with you. There's no sun, there's no life. And if you put sunscreen on a plant for a month, tell me how that plant's doing. And if you think you're not connected more to the sun than the plant is, then you're just not in the world that I live in, because the world I live in, everything, all of life exists because of the sun.
So the oral microbiome is amazing, and it's thankfully gaining so much more awareness now, as it should, because the mouth is the gateway to your body. It is connected to your whole microbiome system, your whole gastrointestinal tract. And what happens in the mouth does not stay in the mouth. The mouth is not Las Vegas. So if you have low-level inflammation in the mouth, such as gingivitis or gum disease, when you brush your teeth, do your gums bleed? Have you got bad breath? Do you have like any coatings on your tongue? Have you had any dental work? And if so, was it done properly? Have you like properly assessed for like bacteria, etc.? If any of that is happening, then we could have bacterial translocation, but we can also have signals of inflammation being amplified around the rest of the body. We also know now that there are certain strains of bacteria that colonize the mouth, such as Fusobacterium nucleatum, which are associated with things like preterm pregnancy loss, premature rupturing of membranes, and also breast cancer. They can be transferred from the mother to the baby whilst the baby's in utero, and then transferred back from the baby who is breastfeeding on the mother's breast and increasing risks of breast cancer. So there are some of these bacterial strains which we really do not want in our mouths, and they will maybe be there because of things like mouth breathing, airway misalignment, poor dietary choices, so regularly eating things that kind of coat the teeth and are quite hard to remove. So like the classic one in America is goldfish crackers, or those like a Ritz cracker where you eat it and it's kind of like stuck in your teeth. So teeth brushing and oral health is like, I think it's amazing and fascinating. And I think, we don't give it enough press. It's so important. I ask all my clients about oral health and when was the last time they saw a hygienist. So really what you want to do, a few easy things that you can do is move your brushing routine to first thing in the morning. So when you are asleep, your mouth produces less saliva. And saliva is what's really important for rebalancing the microbiome environment and the pH of the mouth. So that's why we wake up with morning breath, because we haven't really had that ability with the saliva overnight. So when you wake up in the morning, you want to be getting rid of that bacteria. So you tongue scrape first thing, and then you brush your teeth before you've eaten or drank anything, ideally. And bonus, you could do oil pulling. Oil pulling with coconut oil is amazing for your oral microbiome. And so moving that to like before you've eaten or drank really can hugely impact your oral health for the better. So I do all that first thing.
Yeah, interesting. Because I, have a very kind of, strict morning routine, but one thing that I don't do is brush my teeth early. So I always wait till after I've had breakfast. So it might be like 9 o'clock before I actually brush my teeth, by which time we've been up for 3 hours. So maybe I'll switch it up and start brushing.
I usually brush mine again after breakfast. And like full disclosure for the listeners, I am tongue scraping first thing. Then I brush my teeth with just water, because I don't want my toothpaste to ruin the taste of my cup of tea. But I also know that my oral health is really good. So if it wasn't, maybe I would use toothpaste. But so I brush with water, and then I have my breakfast, and after breakfast I brush with toothpaste again.
Okay, and what about toothpaste? So do you there's a recent trend of fluoride-free toothpaste. What do you use? Do you buy into that? We've started using fluoride-free toothpaste and have even bought some for our kids. But what are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, my thoughts are that fluoride is a neurotoxin, and can interact with the thyroid. However, I do take a balanced approach on this, in the sense that if the oral health is really bad, and that person has active cavities and loads going on, use of a fluoride toothpaste might be warranted whilst we are rebalancing and working on the oral health. So you probably are using one with hydroxyapatite in, or nano hydroxyapatite. This is a more natural version, and it has the same remineralizing effects as fluoride. So all of the benefits without the risks, basically.
What can we do each day to try and improve our resilience, our resistance? What things can we do? How can we improve that? So when we tested, we're not going to break that spider's web.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm actually, what I am going to say is there's a saying in functional medicine, which is treat the individual, not the disease. But I kind of change that, sometimes treat the individual, not the symptom, or treat the individual, not like the question in this case. So,
but what if it's someone who doesn't need treating? Like I'm listening to this and I don't think I need treating right now, but I imagine there's certain things I should do each day.
Yeah. And I think it still will come back to what areas are you most out of alignment on? So if you look at some of the resiliency scales that get used in the research, the best ones aren't just looking at like your cortisol levels and your blood pressure and your waist to hip ratio, which are all very traditional biomarkers of your resilience and allostatic loads. So that accumulative wear and tear. They will look at your emotional state and well-being, and they will look at your relationships and how much support you have there, etc. And you could argue, going through the course, I say this basically every week, like the topic I'm talking about is the most important topic on resilience, because there's some really interesting research there. But social support, hands down, is going to be always one of the most important things. And we live more and more kind of isolated lives. We don't have the village anymore with parenting. It's often survival mode for many years. At least that's my experience. So you've got things like this. But if we break it down, and if we stay with physical for now, because we haven't kind of looked at the others, you can think about it from several different parameters. So if we kind of just go through some of the topics, microbiome resilience. So microbiome resilience is not just about how resilient is your gut microbiome to, let's say, the next course of antibiotics that you have to go on. The research shows us that your microbiome resilience actually influences your systemic resiliency as well. So easy example, we talk a lot these days about psychobiotics, probiotics that influence our psychology, our emotional state via the gut-brain axis and other mechanisms as well. So you could say that, you don't need to have bloating or diarrhea to be like, well, actually adding some fermented foods into your diet daily is a way that you're going to build microbiome resilience, which is going to have a systemic impact on your overall resiliency. Something that I think is to this day not discussed enough is just dietary fiber. And I know that sounds so boring, but so many people don't hit their dietary fiber targets. Like for men, really 38, 40 grams of fiber a day. I don't think many people hit that at all. And if you start tracking it, even for like a day, if you put in your food into like a MyFitnessPal or whatever, and you just had a look at your fiber, you'll very quickly obviously know, okay, am I hitting my fiber intake daily or not?
How do you hit your fiber then? Where do you get, what's the best place to get fiber?
I mean, fruit, vegetables, whole grains, but also if tolerated, your legumes, your lentils, things like your chickpeas, nuts and seeds will have a little bit. But people say to me like, oh, Alex, I have my apple and my banana, I have broccoli and loads of carrots, and like they have maybe 6-7 veggies a day. But when you add that up, some of those aren't particularly fibrous. So I do think a lot of people miss out there. And especially if you're having like, an egg-based breakfast, a chicken salad, and then sort of a typical dinner, straight away you can see how there's not going to be enough fiber in there to support it. Now, fiber is not the only way to support the microbiome, but if you wanted one of the most powerful supplements for your overall well-being and to some degree longevity, fiber is actually one of them.
Is there such thing as the 80-20 rule where you're going to spend 80% of your, even I've heard that professional athletes even spend 80% of their training in zone 2 and then only 20% of it they go in hard. Is that a thing?
It could well be. I mean, we weren't that scientific back then. I mean, I think personally, I do think science has evolved, and obviously it's helped people maybe be injured less or perform more optimally. However, I do think there is a conflict when it comes to scientific markers because everybody is an individual. So if I push myself to my limits, that is far harder than the general population that pushes themselves to limits, because I probably have a better pain threshold, I have a different mind as what hard means. And so I'd have to say, actually, the worst year I had
was actually when I was working with a sports physiologist who we did everything by heart rate. And
Really?
I do believe recovery days are essential, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But when everything was guided by so-called numbers, I wasn't working hard enough. So I actually ran the slowest I'd ever run. I wasn't recovering as well as I did, because I think it has to come to, yes, your heart rate when it comes up to your max heart rate, and making sure you're not like literally killing yourself. And then how quickly your recovery comes down is essential. But when you're only going by your heart rate every single session, I think for recovery is really important. But for hard training, I think it's got to be a case by case, session by session basis. And I've always worked like that because I know I can push myself fundamentally harder. And regardless of age, I don't really, yes, we have those markers of 220 minus your age as your kind of max heart rate. But say my max heart rate goes over that, it doesn't mean I'm dying. It just means that maybe I'm fitter than the norm, it's those sort of things. So I do think there is a case for it, especially with people getting into running. To heart rate, I think, is quite important, knowing that you have to recover it before you do session. But I think if you see yourself, and I don't mean this necessarily being an Olympic athlete, but a lot of people train like elite sports people, those that do the half marathons, the trail runs, the marathons all the time, they get up and train far more than me. These people that I see out on the road, I think, bloody hell, you are like a full-time athlete, but they've got a full-time job. They just love what they do.
So if you keep going into the sauna insisting that you face the door, then there's something connected to that. So what I would say to you, if you're going to use the sauna, don't always sit in the same place, sit in the dark, don't face the door. See if it affects your ability to stay longer, and more often than not it does.
It's so interesting. Probably the biggest takeaway from today for me is think about how you hold yourself, how your body is, and how you react physically to heat, cold, to any stressor, and if you let your body react in the way that you've always reacted, I guess it's breaking those cycles, those patterns. We've built up these patterns over years because something when we're a child maybe happens negative, and you react in a certain way, and you just keep on doing it forever. And I guess sauna and cold is a way of breaking those reactions.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And not always breaking them, still do them if you wish, but know that you're doing them.
Right.
Because it's obviously, in terms of neuroplasticity, understanding why you've done it, and sometimes I'm in the sauna and I forget, and I come down here and I'm like, I have a little bit of a chuckle to myself, and then I open up again. My palms come up, my body comes back up. I don't close my eyes, and I'm back here again, and it feels more uncomfortable to be open here, And as soon as I go back down here again, it feels more comfortable, and I feel better. And then I come here again, and it feels more uncomfortable. Well, after the other one, after the other one, after the other, and I get people to feel it, and they're like, "Wow." 100%. When I'm down here and my head's down, I feel it's less hot. So it's identifying your behavior when you're stressed.